I know that you guys met at work, but if someone proposed to me at my workplace, I would die. Like, what? You're proposing to... I'm wearing business casual, like, and you're proposing to me?
Hi guys, welcome to LoveCast, the BL podcast. I'm your host, Alexa, and with me are my fellow hosts, Pixie and Kayla.
Hello.
We are back with our annual Pride episode. This is the 5th year of the podcast, the 5th year we're doing this dedicated episode, which is very exciting. This year, we're going to be talking about some of our favorite wedding and proposal scenes in QL, as well as taking a little bit of time just to chat about marriage equality and the fight for equal rights in some of the countries that produce these shows. And as you know, we always love to invite another LGBTQ plus creator to join us for these episodes, and this year we are joined by our friend Brinley.
Hi everyone.
Yay, welcome. Brinley, if you don't mind, if you want to tell all of our viewers and listeners a little bit about yourself and your content and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those who don't know me, my name is Brinley. A lot of the content I mostly make react and review content about all sorts of queer media, whether it's, books, TV shows, movies. I just like to talk about it all and have a conversation with people. On YouTube, I mostly make full-length uncut reaction content, but then on TikTok, you could find anything from commentary to like reviews and memes. I love a meme. If you follow me, you'll know I love to meme. So yeah, that's kind of my content.
Yeah, I think TikTok is where I first followed you, like with the LoveCast account, and I was like, okay, I like what this person has to say. And then like we became mutuals on Twitter, and Brinley has been very much helping me down my Demundi rabbit hole, influencing me there. So we were very excited we met up at the Dawu Off-Road Fan Meet in March very briefly, but very excited to have you on to join us for this episode. So yay, it's gonna be fun.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm just so happy to be here, because like when y'all followed me back on TikTok, I was like, yes, because I watch y'all's podcast, so I was very excited.
Okay. So this is our new, this is the inaugural episode where we're going to be doing this little, I guess, icebreaker segment, but just for a bit of a way to have our audience get to know you a little bit more through your QL tastes. We're going to ask you to share your first QL, your favorite QL, and your current favorite pairing.
Got it.
It's not easy questions, but we're putting you on the spot there.
Yes. Okay. So my first ever, and I don't know how y'all are going to react to this. It was Bad Buddy when it was currently airing. Someone sent it to me. I tweeted something like, I wish I could watch a gay enemies to lovers show. And someone said, here you go. And then I realized there were sapphics in it. So I was hooked.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's a classic. My favorite, I feel like it's not fair, because something about me is I make content on BL and GL. So I feel like it's not fair for me to just pick one. So I decided two. Is that okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So my favorite BL is Not Me.
Yeah.
Valid.
I support that.
Thank you. I like the way it deals with socio-political issues and creates a very complicated conversation, but we also have a really great story of found family and romance. And then my favorite GL is Us, the series, which just finished airing, so feel free to watch it.
I've been advocating for Us. I love that show so much. It's, in my opinion, easily the best GL that GMMTV has done so far, but even in terms of like the GL genre as a whole, I loved it so much, everything they did there.
I agree 100%. I think, oh, wow, y'all are just going to have me talk about found family all day. I love the way it deals with family, like, I guess, drama, family conflict, and establishing, like, what it means to love someone. So then my favorite pairings, I picked a BL pairing and are you laughing because you already know what I'm going to say?
I feel like at least for the BL pairing, I feel like I know who you're going to say.
Anyone who knows me will not be surprised when I say my favorite BL pairing is Jimmy and Ohm from Demundi. And
Valid.
if you are... Thank you. If you don't know who they are, They are both in the next Prince right now, and they are supposed to be a magic lover as well. So
Yeah,
Yes.
I
who
just
knows what's
watched
coming out.
the recent episode of The Next Prince, and I'm there with you.
Me too. I watched it and I was like,
We're cooking now.
okay. And then my favorite GL ship is Emmy Bonnie, which, yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your favorites with us. Lots of good picks there, lots of good recommendations for shows and just people to follow for anyone who might not be familiar with them. Now we are just going to kind of get into our very unscripted round robin section of the episode. So for those who are listening or watching who might not be familiar, we kind of just go in a square, rectangle type discussion and share our favorite. We're going to be sharing our favorite proposal moments, wedding moments, anything kind of related to the marriage side of BL and GL, those scenes or episodes that really stuck out to us. Well, okay, I kind of wanted to get this one out off the jump because the second we decided to do this episode, this was the first scene that came to mind for me. And like, maybe I should save it till the end, but I just want to talk about it now. What is probably my favorite marriage, wedding, proposal, anything in that realm that I've ever seen in a QL is Sam and Mon's wedding from Gap.
Alexa, you stole that from me.
I do.
Stole it.
In an unsurprising turn of events, Kayla and I have the same thoughts on things. Yeah, that I still have such distinct memories of the way I sobbed watching that scene. I'm pretty sure I posted on our LoveCast Instagram story me with like tears streaming down my face, just ranting about like how meaningful it was to see like two women getting married in the first live action Thai GL, like full length GL series. It was such a special scene. And I just love, after everything that Sam and Mon had been through, Mon especially like struggling so much with her commitment to her family versus her queerness and her love for Sam, being able to like come full circle and have this moment where the people she loved were there for her, including her grandma, who was the one that really struggled with her queerness, and also just her being allowed to let down. I'm a writer for Sam. Like that, if that hasn't been obvious, like in any past time we've talked about Gap, I love her so much as a character. And so for her, especially like being able to see her have that moment of just like pure happiness and acceptance and feeling acceptance of herself and her love, was just like, it was so special. And I love that she was wearing a pink dress because she said that Mon like brought that color into her life. So there's just so much about it, the extravagance of it, like everything about it, just like being able to watch them and everything they've gone through, like in love and married, just, it was everything to me. And I think about that scene. I rewatched it like preparing for this episode, and I love it so much. It's such a good wedding scene, such a good full circle moment for those characters.
There's unfortunately footage out there of me crying to that wedding scene as well, which is very embarrassing. But no, same to everything. Like, I love Sam so much. I related a lot to like the cultural pressures that she had on her, and just the fact that she does end up having a happy ending where she gets to marry the woman she loves. Like, it still destroys me to this moment in a good way. It was the best outcome for everything that both of them could have gone through in the series. And it's so satisfying. Like, it didn't need to be something that was like, I guess, like out of the box for a wedding. Like, it's just like a wedding scene if you think about it. But I think it just like spoke to like little me seeing not only a sapphic couple get married on screen, but an Asian sapphic couple.
Yeah.
Because it's like I had the Asian representation and then you also have the sapphic representation. So it was just really cool. And like Gap was, I think, were they the first GL to have a wedding in it?
I think so. I feel like
Yeah,
they
I
had
think
to have
so.
been.
So they were trendsetters. They changed the game in a lot of ways. We have talked about that before.
And they really did trend.
Yes. The trend, capital trend in trendsetters.
I think something that you pointed out, if that's okay, that I really love is, and this is something I think we'll see, or at least in the scenes I've listed down, I think we'll see this theme there too. It's like one of the most powerful parts is that the family was there, that there was a conflict with, right? Especially grandma. And I think that that's just such a powerful thing for young queer people to see, because even though that may not be our reality, or maybe it will be our reality in the future, I think it's such a positive thing to highlight. And I think that's one of the things that makes GAP really powerful. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah, I think it's also like that coming full circle moment. I mean, there is validity in both sides, but, you know, a lot of these BLs, like, show parents that are accepting right from the jump, which is a lot of people's reality. That was luckily like my reality. But it's also like nice to see a person, a family figure, a caretaker who struggled a lot and be able to see that journey come full circle, because I think that is a reality for a lot more people, of that it's not just an immediate acceptance, or, you know, it's not just an immediate disowning your family member if they don't accept your queerness. Like, that's not, as much as TV maybe makes that seem like the easy option, it's not. So Sam's reality of struggling so much to abandon her grandma, even though like maybe her heart was telling her to for Mon, and then seeing that come full circle and seeing her grandma come full circle in the end, that journey that both of them went on to like meet each other in the same place, I think made it really impactful in the wedding moment. Starting it off on a strong note here, a heavy note.
Okay. So since there was one scene when you sent me the DM asking, there was one scene that immediately came to my mind, but it's not a wedding scene, it's a proposal. Okay, so it is the proposal scene from Wie Good Day.
Stop, I have that too.
No way!
I also have that
one. Perfect. That's so funny. Great minds, right?
Exactly.
Something I loved about it is, so something that I really love about like a lot of the scenes that we've been seeing lately is a lot of them are about like simplicity and love, and they really just feel almost like so beautiful and natural. And so something I love about Ye and Cher's engagement scene is, you know, it starts with an ad. Okay, we gotta get that face mask in there, right? But then they go on to have a conversation about the marriage equality bill passing because of the article on his phone. And so what I think is really magical is, they decide, let's get married. And then they start the proposal scene, but there's no ring, there's no nothing. All they need is each other, which I think is so beautiful in the way at which it shows them coming together, essentially joining as one, but there's like a moment of beautiful simplicity, and they're able to reaffirm and cement their feelings for each other. And so my favorite quote, I decided to write this down from the scene, was that day people like us can finally get married. Because like that's truly how it feels. Like when you see that article, like I remember when I was I don't even remember how old I was when it passed in the United States, but I remember reading that and feeling the exact same thing. Like it's such a universal magical moment. And I thought it was really powerful.
Yeah, I just love how realistic it is. Like, I felt like they had already established that they wanted to be together forever. Like, that has been a thing. Yeah, I just felt like that was the next natural step in their relationship, is to get legally married. I really like that whenever Cher brings up, like, when they should get married, he's like, okay, why not? Like, the casualness of it feels very real to me. And just, like, the fact that Cher is like, well, you haven't actually proposed to me yet. So then he gets on one knee and like gives him the invisible ring because he doesn't have any money for a ring. It's just, it's so sweet and like humble, and I'm obsessed. Like I was really obsessed with them. And that proposal scene is one that I think about a lot too. It's just so simple, but so meaningful at the same time, like you said.
Yeah, I think it just really like, perfectly symbolize like their partnership, because like these are two people who knew that they were planning to spend their lives together. And like that was already the plan. Like that part wasn't in question. It was almost like the proposal, I don't want to say it was a formality because I don't want to take away from like the specialness of that scene, but it was kind of just like, well, we already know we're going to get married, but you still haven't done this part yet. So like, yeah, it felt so perfect for like this long-term partnership that they had been in and like the way they operated as a couple. And I also just love like the timing of it being right around the time that the marriage equality bill in Thailand had passed like the upper house of parliament. So like the people of Thailand knew at this point that marriage equality was very likely going to be like signed into law in the future. So like, and the way that they were kind of able to edit that into the scene and like make that part of the scene as well, just like really connected it to real life in that moment. And I loved it for that reason as well.
I read somewhere that they actually shot 2 versions. I went back to try to find it. Yeah.
I read that
so like
as well.
One if it had passed and then one if it didn't.
Yep. I remember reading that at the time too. So yeah, I love that. I love that element of it as well.
My turn.
I love them.
It's your turn, Pixie.
I kind of need to preface this with some words. So marriage isn't really like a huge factor in my day-to-day life. Like for me or any of my friends, I don't have a single friend that's married. The only weddings I've been to is my cousins when they got married. But other than that, like marriage doesn't happen around me. So
me either, honestly. But I think all of my friends are gay, so none of them are married.
It's more of part of the American culture than it is in Norway. Like it's yeah. It's not as common in Norway. Like people do get married, but it's not as common and it's not seen as a big deal when you're not married or in a long-term relationship without getting married. So with that being said, I noticed that like while I think it's a very good way to show the happily ever after and it's very moving and all that, it doesn't stick in my head when a show has had a marriage in it or like a wedding. So I was sitting there and I was just like, which shows did they get married in? So that being said, the first thing that popped into my head was actually Thorn Type, which is now like 6 years ago or something. They had the wedding special episode after the 2nd season, and I just like it really stood out because it was one of the first real like weddings on screen that we got. And I think like a lot of us had we had like a really emotional connection to Thorn Type across, because it was a lot of us our first BL, and yes, there's a lot of problematic tropes in it. We acknowledge that and we move on. But it just felt like while the show had its issues and everything, like it felt like a really great way to tie everything together and have a proper happily ever after. So yeah, I really like, I felt for the first time watching like a BL, I felt like, okay, this is like a proper happily ever after.
That's true. That I think
I don't know.
Thorn Type was like.
Go ahead, Kayla.
I think Thorn Type was one of the. Was it like the first Thai BL that had a wedding scene? Like, was there one before that? There had to have been.
What year was the special episode? I don't.
So Thorn Type was
it 2019?
I think.
Or was that
7 Years of Love is from 2020.
I have one on my list that's like a proposal from that year. Doesn't show the wedding scene. I can think of like proposals that happen in like BLs from like 2019 and stuff, but I don't have a wedding scene coming to mind. Yeah. Thorn Type was truly a moment in time. That's what I always say about Thorn Type is it was a moment in time.
I feel like for a lot of people, so like I got in with Bad Buddy, right? So that was
Yeah.
after Thorn Type. So I feel like a lot of people, you know, that would be on Google lists. So people who entered around the same time, like it would be like, oh, watch this one too. And for some reason, recently, because I had watched it like a long time ago, I recently rewatched it because someone told me Tong was in it from Ken Porsche. And I was like, how did I not make this connection earlier? But about the wedding, I can see what you mean. And like they had so much conflict in their relationship. Seeing them come together in like a way where they're saying, we're going to be monogamous, we're going to have a partnership forever. I can see that that is very impactful for their character development in a way too.
My next one that I had on my list, I don't want to say it's controversial. It might be unhinged, but I want to say it's not as much about the proposal as like the moment after the proposal, but it wasn't necessarily a wedding scene. But I wanted to talk about Manner of Death. Now that proposal, unhinged, about as unhinged as a proposal gets. Like I was rewatching it because I wanted to rewatch the proposal because I was just like, it came to my mind naturally, and I was like, this is so goofy. Like he was really so goofy for that. But as I was rewatching the proposal, like it went to the next scene, which was like the final scene of the show, which was after they had gotten married. Like they didn't show an actual like wedding scene, but they showed them like right after their wedding when they were in like their wedding attire, and they were just like standing at the top of this like gorgeous lookout point looking over at the mountains, just like talking about like the beauty of the place they were in like at that particular moment in time. And like it was another one where kind of like Oye and Cher, it was like the simplicity of that moment just like really stood out to me. I just love that they were just kind of like they're talking about their forever together. Just another one like after everything they'd been through with like the darkness of Manner of Death and how much really bad shit happened to both of them like throughout the time of that show. Just like being able to like be excited and happy about planning their future together and like having a moment of like really understanding the beauty of that moment, with then this shot of like their rings being the forefront while they're panning out to this like gorgeous mountain shot in the background. I don't know, like it just like really struck me. And I also think I was having a moment of like, damn, I miss Maxwell like as an on-screen pairing. So like I was just like really taken by like the quiet chemistry of like that exchange they were having in that moment. But like I went in to like kind of like have a chuckle about the proposal scene because like I laugh about that all the time. Unhinged, but also like very tan and bun, like in very Manner of Death. But then like it was that moment afterwards, even after the wedding, that I was like, this is like a very like beautiful kind of just like quiet and I don't know, simple I guess way to like end the show and kind of show them starting their life together. And I just really I liked it. I went back and I was like, wow, I forgot how much I liked this little moment at the end of the show. So I wanted to shout that out. And as much as unhinged as this proposal was, I feel like it's kind of iconic and like you can't not mention it when you're talking about proposals and BL and GL. So shout out to that, even if it wasn't the specific moment I was talking about.
Dude, I have so much to say about that proposal. Like, oh my God. But yeah, I'm gonna hold back. But the greatest thing about that was seeing them together in a show. Yeah. And I honestly, I really liked the show compared to the book and everything.
Me
so
too.
But that proposal scene, like, oh God, who did that? Like, that's not part of the book. Who came up with that? I'm sorry.
It still feels very salmon. You know what I mean? Like it's not surprising that this is something that's happening in a salmon series. You know what I mean? Like we've seen the other work.
Oh my God.
Or at least with hindsight, we've seen more salmon work.
True.
I was hesitant to start off because I think it's humiliating how predictable I am.
We all know what's coming.
Do I have to say it?
I already know what it's going to be.
We can say
obviously,
it. You want me to say it for you?
We can all say it at the same time.
Leon and Kua.
That's on my list too.
CutiePie to you. Yeah. I can't go a day without mentioning CutiePie. That's just who I am. But I do think about Leanne and Kua's chaotic wedding day a lot. It brings me so much joy. I thought it was like very funny. um, but yeah, that day is crazy for them because it's like not only do they get rained out, but they misplaced the ring, don't know where the ring is. And then like their wedding officiant can't even make it to where they are because of the weather. So it's like they're drenched in all their nice clothes. They're all moping. They're like, oh, the day's ruined. What are we going to do? It's just everything's going wrong, but they somehow am able to turn it around. And they get married on the beach at sunset, which is, that's like, I feel like when you think like romantic wedding, that is like peak. Like a wedding on the beach at sunset. But I love that actually right before that wedding scene, they have this moment where they're kind of like reminding each other that like all the fancy things, all the displays or whatever aren't what actually matter. And it's like their love for one another that matters, which is, it's the theme that keeps coming up, weirdly enough, with all of these. But I just loved that too going into the actual wedding because especially with them, it's like their families were trying to make it this big event. Like they were putting so much emphasis on them getting married. The series is like literally about that and like them moving towards that. And then them finally like getting married on their own terms and being able to do it just like still nice, but pretty simplistic compared to what it was supposed to be. I really love it. And I love the symbolism of like the changing weather because it's literally that they had to endure the storm to see the sunshine. And I'm like, that is their relationship throughout the whole series, especially after, let's not forget, Kua rejected Leon's initial wedding proposal in front of everybody.
Birthday. Yeah.
Which I don't know who proposes at someone else's birthday. Like that feels very like bad etiquette.
That was the choice.
But, yeah, especially after that and like all the inner turmoil that Kua specifically went through, like trying to like battle himself and like figure out who he really is, who he wants to be. I was just like, it's the happiest ending for them. Like, it's just so good. So good. And Z and Nanu, just so good.
Chef's
I have
kiss.
nothing else to say. I'm going to cut myself off there.
Yeah.
I had that on my list too. So I also never shut up about CutiePie, so I get it.
Fair.
I also like totally agree. Like it's perfect metaphor for the way their chaotic relationship, well, chaotic stumbling into a real relationship, took place. I think something that it's just like a perfect accumulation of their narrative arc, I guess, to me. But I also love that it's messy because I feel like Kua's internal struggle, the entire series of CutiePie, is coming to terms with the fact that he doesn't have to be perfect and that, in fact, people love him a lot more when he's himself and not Annabelle.
Exactly.
Yeah, he just needs to be himself and deal with the messiness of life, and the love will come, and he will find the love with who he wants to love him. So I just think that that's like a very perfect way to come together. And also the fact that, oh my gosh, Perth's character's name is slipping my mind. But Perth's character...
Oh, was it Jay?
That sounds right.
Something like that. I don't remember.
Okay. Well, Perth's character, it's kind of perfect that he's their... I wrote this down. I have some notes. I think it's perfect he's their officiant. Because if you think about the plot of CutiePie, feel free to disagree, but he's kind of the one who's playing both sides a little bit. In a way, kind of trying... I feel like... Because I recently rewatched CutiePie because I missed Z and Nunu. They were the first BL ship I was ever invested in. Fun fact. But so I was rewatching it and I was like, oh, I really think that he is wanting them to communicate and he is wanting them to stop this mess and dragging everybody into the mess. So I think it's perfect that he was there and their officiant because it kind of like brought, I don't know, it was like the perfect bringing of them together. Something else about CutiePie that I thought was interesting is I believe in CutiePie 2, they have the whole conversation where it's like, oh, it's not legal yet. Do you still want to do this? but they choose to do it anyways. And I thought that was a really, I don't know, a beautiful moment, because it shows that like they're really trying to affirm their love and their bond, even if there isn't necessarily a legal document attached forcing their bond, right?
Yeah.
There were also discussions about marriage equality and like the original season of CutiePie, right? Because I remember us talking about that at the time. And it was like one of those shows you talked about with how like BL is like using their platform to kind of like make statements about marriage equality. And I remember like CutiePie being one of those examples.
Yeah, CutiePie literally ends with them like in like the Siam Square, and there's the really terribly photoshopped like thing of them on the screen with the rainbows.
Yes.
It's so corny, but like I eat it up.
It's kind of camp. It's kind of camp
so
if you
funny.
think about it.
It is. It is really camp.
I was actually the other day rewatching, it came across like our TikTok memories of our interview that we did with Bam Bam, Ploy, and Maya. And we were talking about that scene, and they were saying how like that was a scene that Z had always wanted to do, was like doing a kiss and like Siam. And they were joking about how he bankrolled that scene himself specifically so that like he could make that dream come true. But yeah, just that came across.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like
what a moment.
While we're talking about CutiePie, shouldn't we all, I think we should also mention, didn't Naughty Babe accidentally predict when marriage equality would become legal? I think,
You know what? I think it did.
because I think they imply, I think they accidentally predicted that it would become legal this year. It was either this year or, yeah. So because they get married legally.
Yeah.
In 2025, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Naughty Babe ahead of the game.
Which is, CutiePie, it's like a spinoff, so felt it was relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Damundi loves a proposal or a wedding scene in their show. So I also thought about like the Your Sky one, but I was like, that one's like not, it was cute, but like it wasn't as much on my mind as some of the other ones. But like they love a good like the proposals, the weddings, and honestly I love them for it.
I love them. I mean, I can go.
Pixie, do you have another one?
Go, Brinley.
Brinley, do you have another one? Whoever wants to go.
Okay. So I wanted to talk. So this one, I think it's kind of related to our gap conversation. I feel like we're gonna have a lot to say that's very similar. But I want to talk about the wedding in Secret of Us, because it's at the very end of the series. I mean, like wedding scenes mostly are, right? But I felt like it was a perfect way to end the narrative arc of the story. And I feel like that makes something fluffy 10,000 times better, because I love good writing. And if you think about the story of The Secret of Us, it's second chance romance, right? They are together because of the mom, they break up, and it's them finding their way back into each other's lives and learning how to negotiate relationships with themselves, with their families, and how to establish boundaries and how to essentially come together to fight for what you want, but at the same time, I guess, respect also those as well. So it's like a happy medium. And so something I really love about it is that I think like the mother, for me, she feels like besides the second chance romance being an antagonist itself, right? Because that's, we dated, we broke up, whatever. You had to overcome that. She also is the impetus of the plot, right? So it's almost perfect that at the last moment, she's like, she essentially gives her endorsement and attends and honors Yada and Earn with her approval and presence. And so I felt like that was very, just a beautiful full circle moment. And I just loved, also it was giving very classic wedding. Like, you know what I mean? They're both wearing white. Like it's very like, classic romance movie wedding vibes. And, some people might be like, well, why can't we do something different? I'm like, well, yes, that's great. But like, it's also great to have, just the simple as well.
Yeah. I don't know. I think like there is also like kind of going off of that point, like something so special about like seeing the classic wedding but
Yes.
queer, like seeing two women in like beautiful white ball gowns getting married. Like I don't care if it's traditional, I don't care if it's basic, like I'm gonna eat it up every time because like it hasn't always been like the option. So it's kind of like going back to that first point of like the realization of like having the classic fairy tale, we're wearing white, like it's very like what you would expect of a wedding, but like we're two women or we're two men, like that alone makes it like something different and something very special. So I don't know, I love seeing like shows kind of end with that like maybe traditional wedding scene, as much as I like them doing something a little bit different, because I think the traditional wedding with a queer lens like still offers something different than like if you're just watching, you know, a het couple get married in a show or something like that. Not that I haven't cried at those weddings as well, but yeah, I just think the queerness alone just offers something completely different that like gives so much merit to like the traditional wedding, if that makes sense.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Next one. No. So this my next one on the list is, it's not technically a proposal and definitely not a marriage. But in Cherry Magic, the Japanese version, I agree.
I had
like,
that one on my list. I think that was a proposal.
They exchange. It's the pens, right? I'm not remembering wrong. So they exchange the pens, and it's kind of like in a society like Japan where they can't outwardly show their queerness or anything. Like it's just such a like deep symbol of their love, and it fits the story so well, and it fits the characters, and it's just really, I remember being really what's the word, emotional watching it because what it stood for.
No, 100%, because I once again I rewatched it before doing this, like just to remember, but yeah, in my mind, like it 100% felt like a proposal. And I liked that Kurosawa specifically says like he knew Adachi wouldn't feel comfortable wearing a ring if he got them rings. So, you know, him getting something that is maybe more low key, maybe something that only them recognize, like as a symbol of their relationship, their engagement, like it kind of felt like him, another way to affirm that like he fully understands, sees, respects Adachi as he is, which I think was such a big point of Adachi as a character, feeling like, you know, because of his powers, because of who he was, that like, you know, people like no one would really like want to be with him in that way. And so like, you know, Horisawa coming and having this moment where he, and I rewatched it, he was like, please be with me forever. Like if that's not like a proposal, then like I don't know what is. And like him using that moment with something that so heavily shows how he respects Adachi as a person, and whether Kurosawa would want to wear rings or not, like it wasn't a factor in that moment because, you know, he wanted to do what made the most sense for Adachi. So I just loved that moment for them. And it just felt like such a full circle moment for Adachi of like realizing that this person like fully sees him as he is, powers and all, no matter what, even beyond the powers, just like understands him as a person. And then I just love like the fireworks at the end that their friends are setting off, and they're like, who knows if these might make someone happy tonight, you know, like I don't know, it's just such a sweet moment. And I just I really love that one, and it was on my list too.
I feel like I have another predictable one for me. It's a semi throwback, but when Kian and Pupa are gonna get married in the Our Sky special episodes. Yeah, Our Sky 2. Because like I was just so invested in Tale of a Thousand Stars and so invested in them. I still like think that is Earth and Nyx's like best work is that series. Obviously they have a lot of chemistry, and you know, the story, I didn't hate how their story concluded at first, but I thought that Our Sky did a really good job at, I guess, tying any loose ends that were left between them and their relationship, and just making it feel like the characters were complete. Like, because in Our Sky, the whole thing is that Pupa like doesn't want to let them have the rights to basically their love story. And then whenever he finally gives in, they go and see the play, and he's just like, wow, like so many people were really impacted by hearing our love story. Like that's when it really hit him, because I think before that he was just in the mindset of like, I'm a nobody, like I'm just this like forest ranger in this village, like why would anyone really care? And he's like a very private person. But when he saw the impact like outwardly that their story had, it was like, I don't know, I feel like it maybe gave him the courage to finally propose to Tien and like make the move, so that I mean their relationship is already solidified, but it was again like taking that natural next step forward for them. And the scene, I'm pretty sure I cried during that one too. I cried with Tien, because I think also just how emotional Tien was, being like, wow, like I love you, and this is it. And yeah, they had their little ring on the rooftop, I believe, and their family was there as well, now that I think about it. So again, like the supportive family at the proposal it's really nice, it's really sweet, and it was very emotional as someone who was so invested in their story.
Who has something else? Who wants to go next?
You know, I have one that I don't like, but it's kind of like along the same lines as like Manner of Death, where it's kind of iconic, but I didn't like it. And I actually, for a while, I forgot that this even happened, but in Bed Friend, they do get married.
Wait, what? I don't remember that.
The way I forgot that until this moment.
I still...
It's the very last scene. Well, they don't actually show the wedding, but the proposal scene is the very last scene in the show.
I cannot remember that.
And it's King literally proposes to him in their office.
Crazy.
And I'm like, I know that you guys met at work, but if someone proposed to me at my workplace, I would die. Like, what? You're proposing to... I'm wearing business casual, like, and you're proposing to me? Like, what? It's really crazy. He proposed with, like, flowers or something. And it just, like, I don't know, like, you guys know I love that series. Yeah. I love those characters. I love my dead ship, Net James, but it just didn't... I feel like it was one of those things where it just felt like it was kind of thrown in there. Like, they didn't have to have a proposal scene right there. And then... along with that is whenever during their proposal scene, fucking Tudor's character walks in and the show ends. So I'm like, their proposal was also interrupted by this random college student walking in and being like, hi, I'm here, it's my first day. Or I'm just like, the setting is very bizarre. Like, I don't know. I thought that someone who is rich, like King, would have a more elaborate proposal than that, and he was lacking. So I like that they end up getting married, but the proposal was not it. It was not it. Right. It was not it.
I feel like that
it's definitely weird. Okay.
I was just gonna say, like, I feel like it's great that we can see proposals and weddings and stuff like that in shows, but when it doesn't make sense for the story and it's kind of half-assed, it's kind of like, I don't know, shitting on the whole thing. To be a little bit harsh.
It's like, I don't know, it's like you're forcing like the most ideal happy ending that a couple could have, but you don't have to necessarily get married. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah.
I agree. I mean, I think it's weird to use it to also introduce and tease the middleman's love. Like, I think they could have found a different way to like introduce Tudor's character. Like, there could have been so much better. Like, if that's really what they wanted to do in the final scene, like, tease what was coming next, I think Claw, you're smarter than that. Because I've watched your Sky. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we could have worked through
Mm-hmm.
this.
Yeah, pretty
I
wild.
will say I have one proposal that I actually remembered, which is really weird because the show is pretty old. Why am I just remembering the old ones? So in We Best Love fighting Mr. Second, at the end, the side couple has a proposal scene. And it's really cute, and it's very it's very fitting for the story. It's like it's one of those things where I'm just like it fits the character and it fits the arc of the side couple, because like in the first season they're all like enemies to lovers kind of thing, like, but then they stick together like while the main couple is arguing and doing stupid miscommunication stuff that we're not gonna get into right now. They are still together, and they just like they have this really long relationship, and it's really sweet, and we don't get to see much of it, and I really appreciate just like getting a tiny glimpse into their happiness.
I honestly forgot that there was a proposal in that show from the second couple until you brought it up.
Yeah, same. Wow.
I love that show.
I have a deep cut honorable mention. Well, I don't know if it's a deep
Okay.
cut to y'all, but I feel like a lot of times in conversations I have in this space, not specifically with y'all, but like with just people in general in this space, people will look at me like, "Wait, you watched that?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, I liked it. I know that's apparently unpopular." So my honorable mention is the wedding scene in Two Worlds. Have any of y'all watched Two Worlds? Oh, I see. There's some
watched,
faces.
like-
I haven't, no.
I watched like 3 episodes, but I never finished it.
That's so valid. That's so valid. Listen, it's
Yeah,
not
I
everybody's
couldn't
cup of
finish
tea.
it either.
I am a huge, how should I say this? Soulmates fan.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love the whole idea that like, you know, there's like a person out there and you'll always find them and always fall in love with them. Like that is so. I eat that up. So, but
Same.
I love what I love about their ceremony is that first of all, it's in the river. They get in the river to get married, and they have the ceremony in the river. And I think it's very beautiful and simplistic. And what's left of their community, because a lot of their family members have passed or they have bad relationships with them, their community is there supporting them. And I just think it's like a very beautiful way before the rest of the conflict starts, because it is not at the end. It is in episode, I think, 8.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's like, and I truly believe, well, I think it's the ceremony might have caused some of the conflict not to happen later, or I don't want to get too into it if you've watched it. But but I truly believe that by getting married and mixing their relatives' ashes together, that maybe it allowed them to find each other in another circumstance. So also narrative device. But yeah, that's my honorable mention.
I love soulmates. I love finding each other in every lifetime and every timeline. I Feel You Linger in the Air is my favorite drama, so that definitely like plays into that trope as well. And if there was a proposal in that show, it would have been on this list, and it would have been my number one. I have no doubt. But yeah, anything soulmates will get me, and just like the implications of that. I had an honorable mention that was kind of random that I thought of, which like didn't even happen in the actual show that characters were in, but in The Wedding Plan, which was the Me Mind Why show, Payu and Rain from Love in the Air got engaged.
That's right.
Like in a one-off cameo in that show. And I did not finish that show, but I watched the episode where they got engaged. And like even though like I feel like I liked Love in the Air, I did not like walk away super connected to it like in the end. But like watching that show, like I felt like connected back to the characters in that moment. And like sure, like, you know, it may be like a lot of people were probably tuning into that episode just to see that moment because they wanted to see Pyre and Rain again. But it was like a sweet little proposal, and like I don't know, when I watched it happen, like I felt connected back to Pyre and Rain, and I just thought about that in that moment. It was like it didn't happen in Love in the Air, it happened in The Wedding Plan, but it was a cute way to like bring the characters back and cameo them in another show. And yeah, just a little honorable mention.
I thought it was a very interesting choice, but a choice that makes sense to have Payu and Rain not be getting married when the show starts, but having, oh my gosh, Fort and Pete's characters, their names are slipping my mind right now because but to have them get married at the beginning of the wedding plan, because thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I think having them get married first, I think makes sense for where their character development in Love in the Air ended.
At the end of this, like, what shows that are coming do you guys feel most excited about that you think will like have weddings in them? I genuinely hope there's a wedding in The Next Prince. Genuinely.
Me too.
That would be wild.
I want to see it.
That. Oh my gosh.
Royal wedding. Yes.
Oh my god.
The outfits. Oh my god.
Yeah, right.
The extravagance. Yeah, the extravagance of that would be everything.
Be epic. Oh.
I think we are going to see a lot more weddings, especially now that at least especially in Thai BL, now that marriage equality has passed. I think we're going to see that mentioned a lot in shows that are like currently filming or have been filming like this year. I'm trying to think of one where I really want to see a wedding.
Isn't there an upcoming GMM TV show that is like about these two couples getting married and scammed?
Oh yeah, my marriage scammer.
Oh my gosh. And Junior Mark.
Omen Fluke and Junior and Mark.
That's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
It will be.
I like that they're playing with the marriage trope. Like, they're not doing the classical, like, happily ever after marriage thing. They're playing with it a little bit. I appreciate that. We'll see when the show airs if it's any good.
I think that's why I like CutiePie so much. Not to bring it back to CutiePie, but I love that they were like, well, what if there was an arranged marriage between two guys? Like, okay, heck yeah. Like, I love that. I love that they dared to ask that. Exactly.
Hell yeah, brother.
Same.
You know, it's a show I think I would like to see a wedding in, but I don't know if there will be. Kimjira. Because the setting is so interesting to me. So yeah, I don't know, with the magic system and the kind of way the relationship between the two main characters is like drawn out throughout the novel, I think I would really be interested to see them get married in the series.
Yeah, that would be interesting because the novel was very, very much, it was a slow burn. Like, and like when I was reading it, I was like, the romance is very much like back burner to like the magic and the like the cultural history and the religious elements that were at play there. So I think like the romance was not an afterthought, but it was not like the forefront of the series. So I've been thinking like I'm really curious to see like how that's going to play out in the show. Like if they're going to up the romance factor more to make it, you know, more in line with like maybe a typical BL. But yeah, that would be very curious to see. I think that's... I really like the novel, so I'd be really curious to see how
I'm really interested to see how they balance that dynamic, because like I think having a show like that in this space is like really important, because I often will see people, you know, talking about like what makes something what genre, and so I think it'll be interesting to see how they play with genre tropes and conventions in Kimjira. Can I ask a question? I had a question if we had time.
Go for it.
Okay. So I wanted to know what you all thought, if you watched this, of the proposal, the final episode of Perfect 10-Liners. Which is a proposal.
Are you talking about specifically
Yes,
Claw
and the choice
Warwick?
of making the final episode revolve around a proposal.
I'm gonna be honest, I did not watch the full Perfect 10-Liners. I did watch like the Claw and Warwick cuts because
Dude, you should watch the whole thing. It's such a good show.
I mean, like, I've heard so many good things about it at the time, like as it was airing, which wasn't that long ago. It just like it wasn't in the works for me. But I I don't know, maybe I'm not the best person to speak on it because I only watched their cuts, and I feel like maybe I didn't get the full arc of their characters in the show to like really see that come full circle.
So I'm trying to remember the scene because my memory isn't the best, but I do remember they go like camping, right? And yeah. I thought it was it felt a little bit pushed. I don't know how to explain it. Like they're all there together, and it felt a little bit forced. At the same,
this is kind of why I wanted to bring it up. Sorry.
At the same time, I do kind of appreciate them having some kind of proposal. It was cute, and it felt like a good place for the characters to end it with all the drama that had been earlier. But yeah,
I get that. Yeah, no, I felt like that way too because I was so excited. First of all, boom! I just am so excited to see them. But I thought it was interesting also, like the way they. I really wanted them to bring the friend groups together earlier, I guess, in the series. Because at the end, it kind of felt like some of them it made sense, like Yota, like why he was involved. That made like total sense to me. But then there were some very like loose connections. Or if you read the novel, you might have known like, Wa is known by Arm, or because of Arc. You might have known that, but if you didn't read the novel, there wasn't really like establishment of that. I don't know. So that's why I've been kind of torn about it. But I loved seeing an boom proposal.
I mean, like it doesn't feel like they showed enough why all of them would be involved in such like a really personal, deep thing. So I think like, okay, maybe like they should have done like the proposal with less people and then sort of just came together at the ending for a big party. I don't know. But yeah, it felt a little bit off. But also I haven't been like the biggest Boom fan, but I am sold after 10 liners.
I was gonna say, I do remember seeing like kind of to that point of like why were some of these people involved. I do remember like one of the clips I was watching where like U's character, which was Clow, is that correct? Like they're like at the bar that they're always at, and like they're talking about the engagement, and I can't remember who, like one of the characters is like, oh, I can help do this, and he's like, who is this idiot? Like he didn't even know like the person who was like being involved in his own engagement. I think I like the idea of like, from what I watch, I like the idea of like a group of friends, like if they are like his close friends, like helping him plan and like that shenanigans aspect of it, and like some of the things where they were at the camp and he's like, oh, he's showing up an hour early because Wa didn't want to stop along the way, and like they were all scrambling. Like those kind of elements I think are fun, like for like the close friend group to kind of be like scrambling to help their friend pull this off. But yeah, like the idea of like maybe kind of pigeonholing it for everyone in the show to be involved, like you can tell like they were wanting to pigeonhole that moment for everyone to be together, I guess.
But it was fun.
It was fun. Agreed.
It was fun.
Yeah, that's why like I didn't think a lot about it. Like I can think about it now when you actually put me on the spot to do it, but I didn't really think about it when it was happening. I'm just like, okay, this is fun. Like we're on it. We're here. We're having fun. I really love that show, and I'm just like, I will forgive it every bad writing and all of that, just because I love the general story and the chemistry with the characters and just how they kind of weaved everything together, because that was really well done for such a like long show.
I agree, and I think something that like is really strong about it, and I feel like I guess ending in a proposal is a really great like way to wrap it up in a bow. But something I loved is that they paced out the three main ships and didn't try to do that thing where everyone is having development all at the same time and there's no one 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 main arc.
Yeah.
Because like, yes, they were all present in the beginning, you know, but you could like look at those 8 episodes and say these are Arc and Arms 8 episodes. These are Yota and Guns 8 episodes. These are Fifa and Wines 8 episodes. Like I liked that you were able to kind of like divide it, because not to bring up We Are, but I love We Are, but I feel like We Are struggled from that a little bit.
Yeah, I couldn't get through We Are at all. Didn't New direct this? Yeah.
Both We Are and Perfect Ten-Liners.
He did We Are and
Perfect
Perfect
Ten-Liners
Ten-Liners.
gave me hope back with New. I haven't. He lost me when he did Between Us, but I'm back. I am back.
I think Perfect Ten-Liners and what's the other show he was just directing? Forever You. While there were some issues with pacing in that show, I really enjoyed it. But those kind of gave me hope for him, because like he's directing Your Tuber, which is one of the shows I'm looking forward to most. With Ton and First One. And so when I found out he was the director, I was a little concerned, and then I reminded myself, wait, you liked Perfect Ten-Liners.
I'm laughing because I'm thinking about the conversation we had forever ago about how can you tell New directs a show? It's because there's so much feet in it.
Wait.
That is true. That is true.
You're onto it. That's crazy. I never thought about it that way.
That is so funny. I forgot about that conversation.
It haunts me.
I was having a visceral reaction to some of the feet shots in Between Us.
Unnecessary feet
They were
shots
so long.
in Between Us.
So I guess
Extended
he's,
feet
the
shots.
Tarantino of the BL world.
Oh my god, that's yes. Yes.
Oh my god.
You know, Kayla, now that you've said that, I'm never going to be able to unhear it.
Everyone listening,
It's something
everyone listening to
You'd be
this,
looking
will start
out.
looking for
Notice.
feet in news
Yeah.
series. Oh my god. I can't remember if there were a lot of feet shots in Ten-Liners.
That is a sentence that has never been spoken before.
I fear we've gotten off
I'm
topic.
so sorry.
From
It's
wedding
okay.
to
It's okay.
feet. It's good. It's all good.
Well, I was like, I did kind of want to end the episode with us talking about like queer rights and marriage equality in like these countries, and then like I'm like, how do I transition from feet to like? But that said, unfortunately I'm not Heather and I can't think of a good segue. But I did just kind of want to like round it out to kind of like tie it back to real life experiences, just like kind of looking at, I put LGBTQ plus rights and marriage equality in these countries that produce QL, because I think like obviously like when you think about, I think queer rights, like people think about Thailand between these countries that produce QL as like being at the forefront, as like, you know, they have a very, very vibrant queer community. And, you know, they recently passed marriage equality. But I also just like, I feel like these other countries are also like fighting the fight. And I just wanted to take a second to shout those out as well. Like, in addition to Thailand, like Taiwan was the first Asian country to recognize same-sex marriage. And like, even though, you know, we did get one BL mention that has had a proposal, I don't think they've had as many
I will
proposals.
say
Well, Beloved
this,
and
that
House I
most
Do maybe had a
Taiwanese
proposal.
shows have a nod to weddings. Like in one of the, I can't remember what
Right.
it's called, but the kid goes to prison and his boyfriend is gangster. Whatever. There's a wedding on this on the side of the steps when they walk past.
Kiseki?
So there's like nods to marriage.
Yeah. Was that
think so.
Kiseki?
Yes.
Dear to me?
Yes.
Is that the... Yeah. Yeah, so, you know, Taiwan has had marriage equality for 6 years now, the first in Asia to do it. And then, of course, Thailand was the first Southeast Asian country to legalize, and the bill just was signed into law earlier this year. But then, like, you think about countries like South Korea and Japan, and I think people tend to write them off because like the governments themselves are more conservative, but I feel like the queer people and the activist groups in that country those countries are still fighting so hard for their rights. Like specifically, I remember reading about last year in Korea. There was like a landmark case where a same-sex couple, like it basically got ruled that like they are allowed the same like healthcare benefits that heterosexual couples get, and like that was such a big step for queer people in South Korea. And you know, maybe marriage equality hasn't been signed into law there yet, but I think just like knowing that in these countries where we might not have marriage legalized yet, like there are still people fighting and queer groups fighting and people being loud and proud. And I think, you know, BL plays into that as well. Like I think about Love in the Big City in Korea and how it kind of became a statement for queer people kind of in the face of those who are protesting against it. So yeah, and I know Kayla, you said you had some like stats on the queer rights in the Philippines.
Yes, because obviously like this is a topic I have a lot of thoughts on, just like in general, because the Philippines is super Catholic because of colonization. Hasn't always been that way, but it just like the fact that I think religion there has such a huge impact on the laws and the government. But it's really interesting because like I believe these are pre-pandemic numbers, but I was looking up like actual statistics. And when the general public was asked if gay marriage should be legal, 52% of people said no. But interestingly, when they were asked if society should accept gay people, 73% said yes. So it's like the Philippines is very like backhanded, I think, when it comes to certain things. Like there's such like a queer drag culture there that is, it's like everyone is involved in it. Like it's such a big thing. There's isn't like, I guess, like outward discrimination per se. Like, but people, I don't know how to put it. It's like, there are just some things that Filipinos deem as like sacred, and marriage is one of them because it's attached to religion for them. So like, yeah, it's like very cynical to say, but I don't see any progress going forward for the Philippines anytime soon. Like I don't think that we would see gay marriage legalized there in our lifetime, to be honest. Just for an array of reasons, like including like a lot of government corruption as well with the presidents or whatever. But it's still like the Philippines is still very like open societally. So it's the dichotomy of it is it's interesting. It's kind of like when someone like wants to have a gay best friend, but they're kind of homophobic. Like, oh my God. It's kind of like that. They like, it's like when someone wants a gay best friend, but they don't want like their son to be gay. Like they don't want it to affect their life directly or whatever.
Like it's personal.
Yeah. But it is really sad to just see how like colonization has tried to like completely erase entire groups of people. Like I compared a lot to Thailand because honestly, like the cultures are very similar, and I'm like, man, we could have gone in a completely different direction if it wasn't for the fucking Spanish. But yeah, like there's a lot there is no like third gender in the Philippines. There's only like two genders. You can weirdly enough, you can only adopt a kid if you're single. If you're gay.
Oh. If you're single.
That is weird.
It's very random. Yeah, it's very random. And then I guess there is, in some cases, in some places, there's still like housing discrimination and employment discrimination based on sexual orientation. But I mean, there are more advocacy groups, I feel like, popping up. who are making an impact in, I guess, smaller ways. Not as large as like making gay marriage legal, but in ways where they're, I think, fighting for individual cases, individual people. Kind of like South Korea. But yeah, that's my 2 cents, I guess.
Yeah. No, 100%. And like, I feel like we as like a larger society maybe tend to downplay like those smaller movements, and like we see marriage equality as the end all be all, and like it is a huge thing, it's such a monumental thing, but there are so many other like small rights, and like Kayla was saying, like housing discrimination and these other things, healthcare, like that are also being fought for, even in countries that have legalized same-sex marriage. Like I mean, here in America we're fucking going backwards, so like that's a whole other discussion in and of itself. But like even us having legalized gay marriage 10 years ago this year, in the United States, like there were still queer rights and queer anti-discrimination things that are being fought for with larger groups within states and things like that. So I think like it's easy to kind of forego like the smaller efforts that are being made under like this huge umbrella of marriage equality. But like I think at the end of the day, like the smaller grassroots things are like the big, like the people that are consistently fighting. And so like I always want to shout them out.
This kind of ties back to how oftentimes there's like this really tough dichotomy, because yes, we want to be happy and celebrate Pride, but I think there's also this dichotomy in where we forget a lot of times that Pride, I hate to use this like phrase because I feel like so many people will say this, but Pride started as a protest. And so I feel like we have to find some sort of happy medium, because I think we should be allowed to have queer joy and express that, whether it's watching our TV shows, going out and, you know, whether it's, you know, partying or just hanging out with your people, right? Like, but I think we also need to remember that like the battle is not won yet. And, you know, it'll constantly be something that changes, and we can find hope in each other, but we can also at the same time recognize the places we need to go, I think.
Yeah. And so I guess just to tie it all back together, like obviously we are making this episode primarily about like marriage and proposals in BL, but I also think like BL, QL, GL says a lot more, like beyond just marriage in their shows, like as queer media, and there's so much more to take away from them, and so many different elements of these shows, and like we've kind of touched on some of those elements even beyond marriage and proposals today. And also just like, yeah, just at the end of the day, check in with like your real life queer people, you know, look, especially now, look into getting involved in organizations, getting involved in your community, just showing your support in whatever way you can. But also, yeah, like Brinley said, like take your happiness too, watch your silly little shows, giggle over your marriage proposals and your wedding scenes. And yeah, it's a balance. And I feel like I really like what you said, like Pride being meeting in the middle and being a balance of all of that, if that makes sense. Okay, well, that I believe is going to be all for this year's Pride episode. Be sure to leave a comment down below with maybe some of your favorite wedding or proposal moments in QL, or maybe you can talk a little bit about your experiences with Pride and your queer community and things like that if you have experience with it. Just chat with us down in the comments. We'll be following the conversation. And a huge thank you to Brinley for joining us for this episode. We had a lot of fun chatting with you today, and I'm so glad we could have you on for this episode.
Thank you so much for having me. It was fun.
We'll link all of your accounts down below, so be sure to follow them, check out their content, see what they have coming. And if you enjoyed the episode with us, please like, comment, and subscribe. And while you're at it, why not share the episode with some of your friends? That kind of stuff all really helps us out with the algorithm, as well as our Patreon, where you can check out all of our exclusive episodes, reactions, early access to reviews. All that kind of stuff is over there, and it supports us as well. But that is all we have for you guys for this episode, and we will see you in the next one. Happy Pride, everyone!
Happy Pride!
Bye-bye!